Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joy Lageray, and you're tuned in to Matured Musicians on Country Hot Music by Joy Lageray on Matured Musicians shortly and on YouTube. I have with me today Todd Powell, and he's going to play us some music a little later on. Okay, I don't see it on here. All right, so I do want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Luscious Moss. And Chad Christ, he owns the Luscious Moss Studio in Edgewood, Washington. He originally started doing drummers and guitarists and featuring them in his videos. He has now moved on to also production work. So if you have any needs of that sort, do contact him. You can find him on Facebook under Chad Christ or Luscious Moss Studio, and he can help you with your needs. And with that, I want to introduce our guest today, Todd Powell. Todd, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Thank you, Joy. It's great to be with you.
Thank you.
Let's see, I'm in a couple bands right now. You want to go back to my childhood?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, okay. So I started taking piano lessons at probably first grade. My mom plays piano. She's still around. It's 93, and she's actually
Oh my gosh.
She still plays the piano every day. And I remember as a kid, she would be playing and I'd be up in the treble clef and I'd be poking around on the keys, and I'm sure it was driving her crazy. So she decided to sign me up for piano lessons.
How old were you?
I was about six.
Six.
Probably. I mean, I might have started bothering her earlier. But she got around to putting me into piano lessons. I had a great teacher who was Juilliard trained, and
wow.
I took lessons till about 8th grade, and then I got into sports. And I mean, I was playing little league baseball things all along, and I kind of stopped taking lessons. And back in those days, you didn't really have portable keyboards. You know, if I wanted to play piano, I'd have to go home, go to my mom's house, or be at home. And on into college, if I could find a piano, I'd play it. I wanted to play guitar when I was young, and I also took about 2 weeks of banjo lessons when I was 10 because we'd gone to a bluegrass concert, and I loved it.
Ah.
My parents got me a banjo for my birthday, and then I realized that my fingers hurt, and it was just, it wasn't intuitive for me at the time, but I think I picked up a few things. And it wasn't until, probably when I was in my 30s or so, when I was no longer at home. I didn't have a piano. I got an electric keyboard and started playing around and reminding myself a little bit about what I used to do. And then eventually got married, and my piano arrived at my house. My parents sent it over, but those are not portable for gigs, so electric keyboards are always much more useful. I had been involved in this was probably about 15 years ago, a kind of a local variety show in Carnation in a barn. It was in a barn. It's kind of like Prairie Home Companion.
Cool.
Storytelling and things like that. And this was kind of the first time I really got up on stage. But I became part of the kind of the show band, the house band, where we'd do fake commercials and little interludes while other acts were getting ready and things like that.
Right.
It was a ton of fun. And I kind of got the creative juices flowing. And my wife was part of that too. And she's a musician, as you know, songwriter. And I used to write instrumental music on the piano. I didn't really do much singing. It wasn't until I became a dad. Yesterday was Father's Day. So when I became a dad, I started singing to my kids at night. And it was like, well, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing that really kicked off my songwriting, lyric writing, I've been a writer. I've been a journalist. I was an English major. I teach English now. And I never quite knew how to marry the two. Because when I would play piano, my right hand would do all the melody. And so I didn't have space for vocals or anything like that. I had to kind of learn how to, remove that and put the voice in. But it was picking up a ukulele, a little soprano ukulele we had in our house. And I just started strumming it one day, learned a couple of the cowboy chords,
Yeah.
G, C, and D. We had a little booklet on should be coming around the mountain, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it just started.
I still have them.
Yeah, exactly. I started playing, and it's like, okay, this is a lot of fun. And I realized because all I could do was strum, play some chords, maybe finger pick some arpeggios off of those. But that left room for my voice to kind of hum along. I was first, and I was singing the tunes and stuff. And it's like, well, this is fun. I think I'll try writing some songs. I'd written a few for voice on the piano, but it just became easier when I had the ukulele in hand. That was a soprano ukulele. I've since transitioned to a baritone, which is a little bigger. It's tuned like the bottom 4 strings of guitar, so it's easy. It was easier for me to play, and I like the tone of it. So that really kind of kicked off songwriting.
So when was that? What part of your life? I missed that part.
Probably in my late 30s, early 40s.
Okay, so all right.
Yeah, in the last 15 and 20 years. I guess more in my 40s. And at one point, I had a friend who I knew he played piano. He had been to some of these shows we'd been in, and I'd gotten to know him. And we went to a party at a mutual friend's house, and he said, "So are you trying to write some more songs on ukulele?" And I said, "Yeah, it's been a lot of fun." And he goes, "I'm learning how to play the bass." His name is Wayne. He said, "Well, let's get together sometime and let's try jamming and let's try your songs out." And I said, "That'd be great." They didn't have anybody else to really play with. So we got together, and his wife, Ann, plays drums. So Wayne was playing electric bass first, but we kind of started to realize what would really sound cool was an upright bass. And he was really committed because he went out and bought himself an upright bass. But we played probably 6 months before we had our first gig. And this became my band, Calliope Claims the Heart.
Now, at this point, let me interrupt here just a minute so I get this straight. You were playing lead, or were you playing rhythm at this time?
Rhythm. So I do not play. I cannot solo on my ukulele.
Me either. I get it.
I'm a rhythm ukuleleist. Or like I said, finger picking, just arpeggios and things like that. And actually, that's a great question because we finally we had a couple small gigs, and we just didn't have solos. I was just doing rhythm. We were a little trio, but then we played a little mini set during 4 and 20 Blackbirds break. They were playing a set. So that's my wife Stacy's band, and I kind of said, "Hey, you mind if we?"
Oh, I know her. I think I've interviewed. Excuse me, Todd. I think I've interviewed her, right?
Yes, yeah. So I said, "Well, they're going to play house music. Why don't you just let me play a couple songs?" And Wayne was there. I can't remember if Ann was there. Actually, my daughter is a drummer. She was there. She had a cajon, so she sat in with us. And then the proprietor said, "Hey, that was kind of cool. Do you have enough songs to play a 2-hour set?" And I lied to him and said yes.
Hey.
You have to fake it sometimes. I kind of had enough songs. We could toss in some covers. But then I realized, I need somebody who can solo. I need a lead guitarist. Fortunately, there's a fellow named George Seacombe who he plays in 4 and 20 Blackbirds. And I had played with him at this variety show a couple of years before and gotten to know him. And he's an amazing guitar player. He can play anything, rock and roll, country, jazz. And he kind of got the feel of our band because we're sort of like 1920s jazz style, Tin Pan Alley kind of stuff. and I knew that he would just really knock it out of the park. And so I said, I asked for a couple months before we booked the gig, and contacted George, and he sat in with us. We had some rehearsals, and it was great. And then we had the gig. That went well. We got another gig, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh, no. Of course.
So, as with all musicians, as you know, we all kind of had to do our thing quietly in our own rooms. Maybe not quietly. um, Actually, what we ended up doing as a band is Wayne and Ann have this lovely house with a great porch, covered porch.
Oh, yes.
So you probably know, you could
Oh,
go
yeah.
outside, be socially distanced on a big porch, and we had rehearsals, because who knows when we'd ever play again.
Yes.
So we kind of were able to, work on things and develop the songs a little bit more, and get, full sets and all that. And so coming back as things opened up, we started booking some gigs, and it's been a ton of fun. We've had a great.
Yes. Yeah, I've done the porch thing. I understand that.
Right. Yeah.
So, uh, so what is your band called now? Do you have a band currently? Are you playing in a band, or what's happening
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So that has become one of two bands I'm in. This one is my original music and a few covers that kind of fit the style, and that's called Calliope Claims the Heart.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one I found information on.
Right. Yeah. And we play around the Snoqualmie Valley area in Duval, down in Carnation. We've played in Snoqualmie, up in Snohomish, and in Seattle once or
Yeah.
twice. And then I'm in another band, which is a Grateful Dead cover band, and
Ah,
I play keyboards in that band.
that's a
Uh,
rock band, isn't it?
yes.
That's a
Yeah.
rock.
It's and that's been great. That's kind of like a band of brothers. It's a 6-piece band, harmonica player, drummer, bass player, several guitar players, and I play keys. And that reminds me of being in sports, being on a basketball team. We just, working with a larger band like that, you kind of
Yeah.
have to understand the nuances of and listening to
Yeah.
it.
It's teamwork.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we've been getting a lot of gigs with that band too, and it's going to be a busy summer for us.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, how does that work with your wife? Is she playing in a? I know she has a 4 and 20 Blackbirds. So you're not in the same bands. You have separate bands. So how is that going? How do you guys manage that?
Well, yeah, we have to fight for rehearsal time. We have a space down in our basement. Although most of my rehearsals are at somebody else's house.
Yeah.
She rehearses at our place. We occasionally all sit in with her band. If her guitarist is George, same guitarist. If he's not able to play, I might play, because I can solo on keyboards. Sometimes she sat in with me. She sang some songs. She plays trumpet. She played trumpet on a few songs. But I think it works well where we can have our own things going on. It keeps things going
Interesting.
well.
Like juggling.
Yeah, and we both like to write songs,
Yeah.
and so I think it allows us to do have our own visions for our songs. And
So
then
what genre would you say that yours are in? That could be. I mean, whenever I put a song out there, I have to release it through CD Baby, and I have to give a genre, and it's like, oh Lord, what is this?
right, yeah, I know it's kind of hard sometimes to figure out what to call it.
Exactly.
Americana is sort of a general category,
Americana. Okay.
but I think a lot of my songs initially, partly because what I was playing on ukulele at first, and I was looking at these old songbooks, and they'd have these old American standards, like All of Me, things like that, that have a bit of a jazzy, I started learning some good seventh chords and diminished chords and things like that, and I really liked those. So some of my songs have a bit of that feel, almost that kind of Tin Pan Alley kind of flavor to them.
Ah,
Some have more of a country swing flavor to them. I have others that are more folky. Some are a little more basic country. Not
right.
really rock and roll.
I get it. I have the hardest time. I understand that. It's hard to take a song and put it in a category it doesn't really belong. I mean, it kind of fits
Yeah,
3 or 4, but yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I kind of like, combining genres and, maybe using interesting instruments. I haven't had a chance to do that much, but, having a trumpet player sit in with me, or we've played with somebody on plays violin, and her husband played trumpet. I'd love to have somebody play cello, just clarinet, whatever.
Some arpeggios off of those.
Hold on a minute. My phone likes to turn on when I don't want it to. Sorry about that.
Problem.
Okay, go ahead. So, do either of you play the banjo?
Well, I
You like bluegrass, so I was just wondering.
yeah, I took a couple of lessons, 2 weeks of lessons when I was 10. I have a banjo here. One string is broken because I tried to tune it similar to my ukulele, and it wouldn't have it. I would love to be able to play the banjo.
Yeah. Do you use finger picks on it? And you said your fingers were sore first time. I think you said when you tried.
I did. Well, that was the other thing. I did get the finger picks, the thumb pick, and so on. And I think it was my left hand when I was making the chord shapes and stuff. I was just a tender piano player. And I think I just wasn't ready. I think at that time. I think if I tried it now, it might take. I've been playing. I got a tenor guitar about 2 years ago, a 4-string guitar.
Mm.
And
I've been seeing those, and they perplex me. I can't. And then one with 7 strings with it's got a different bass.
Yeah, that's too much. But 4-string guitar, I'm able to tune it like my baritone ukulele. EGVE. So I didn't have to relearn any shapes. That's not the standard. I think it's tuned like a mandolin. But I learned that you could retune them, and I had seen somebody play one. I thought, well, it has a bit of a banjo-y kind of sound to it. Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun. And one reason I got that is my ukulele, I had some feedback issues at a couple of performances.
Yeah.
Because the sound hole is not a standard. It's not. You can get those rubber inserts for a guitar.
Right.
I couldn't really find one for my ukulele.
Yeah.
So, but my tenor guitar, has those F holes, and it's semi-hollow body, so it doesn't feed back, and I like the tone of it too.
Yeah. Who makes it? Who manufactures
it's
that
an
one?
Eastwood guitar, and they do a variety of guitars. That's one of their makes.
Yeah, I have a ukulele too, but I get the baritone like you're talking about. So, I like it. I don't have to learn new chords, and I mean that would be too confusing for my poor old brain.
I know the feeling. Yeah, I like to stick to just the regular shapes.
So, when you started songwriting, how did that begin? I mean, when did it occur to you that you could do it and that you had the drive to do it? How did that happen?
Well, like I said, I've been a writer. I've published some poems and short stories.
So you had a foot up already.
Well, yeah, it was just something I've loved to do, and I've been doing it for a while. I worked at a travel magazine, as an editor and a writer. And so I had stories I wanted to tell, and I had things I wanted to say. And so, there was that side and there was the music side, and I just wasn't sure how they would come together. And I think it was that strumming the ukulele, and first kind of hearing the sounds when you strum, kind of making nonsense sounds almost. And then somewhere floating in the back of my brain is some kind of idea. Some line will come out, and it's like, well, there's a first line. Hopefully, there's a second one. But I've picked song ideas from a variety of sources. It might be something I've read, a book I've read. It might be something I've overheard somebody say. And it's like, oh, that's an interesting idea. I'm going to steal that. In fact, there was one song I've written called Everything I Steal, which is, I was watching an interview with John Prine, and this was,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's an amazing songwriter. And this was like a year before he passed. It was like on the CBS Sunday morning show, and it was a long interview for about an hour or so. And they went to his house, and he was showing them around all his different rooms and stuff, and talking about his music. And he goes into this one room where he had a Christmas tree up year round. He goes, I love Christmas. I just keep it up. And then he had a bunch of other knickknacks. And the interviewer, he says, why do you have a spoon here? It was just a spoon. He just picked it up. And John Prine goes, well, every time I go to a hotel, I'm on tour, I usually steal something. It's not anything big, but might be a towel, might be a fork, might be a spoon. And he says, but I use everything I steal.
But I do what?
I use everything I steal.
Oh, I use everything.
Kind of to excuse himself. Well, I thought that was a great idea for a song. So I stole the song idea. I don't think he'd written a song about it. He just said it in an interview. And then I crafted a song around that. And then I referred to John Prine in the chorus to give him credit. And it's called I Use Everything I Steal.
I like it.
I like to be a little quirky sometimes in my song.
I usually start with the hook. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about the hook, but it comes out of nowhere. I mean, when you got an idea, you got an idea. You never know how the song. It usually percolates for about a year. I mean, I've sat down and written a song in 20 minutes, but most of them I work on. I have a vision of how I want it to be presented. And then I've got to work on the verses, and that's the catch. I mean,
so are you kind of thinking like the title, is that kind of being your hook?
For example, I got a song I'm working on right now. I released one on the 4th of July. Totally different. It's called Warriors Like the Cherokee. Oh, and it's Indian drums and, the whole drumming pattern and the voice, doggone it. Yeah, ghosts. Anyway, we're very different. But this one, I was coming home from the studio working on that song, and I got a devil on my shoulder, and he's whispering to me. It came out of nowhere. So I had the verse all in my head, and I just repeated it over and over and over because I couldn't write it down, and I wanted to make sure that I mean, that's how weird this is. But as soon as I got home, I grabbed a pencil and paper and I sketched it out. I didn't have all the verses yet. I certainly didn't have the music, but I had an idea. I already knew I was, what I wanted to put in there.
Right. Well, I can tell you, this is let's see if you see the phone, my best friend.
What do you do? How do you use it?
In terms of just the memos, and the notes section on my iPhone. So either the voice memos, and that's happened to me where I've been driving, like you said, and humming or something, and it's like, well, of course I shouldn't pull it out while I'm driving, but if I can reach to it and kind of start it, then I can keep driving and kind of hum the idea and get that first line in, like you said, that hook.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm not driving and I have just the words in my head. Maybe not the tune, but that sort of germ of an idea, and I can go to the notes section and quickly jot down.
Yeah, that's I got it. I do that once in a while. I do that. It's just all these little tricks.
Yeah.
So I understand that you were interested in playing today.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you do that, I want to tell folks out there who might be listening that it's not going to sound like your studio production. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure how well or how good or bad StreamYard works, but I do know that I've had other people play, and it was halfway decent actually. So I'm gonna get out of the area. I'm gonna give you the total screen,
Okay.
and when you're ready, you just let me know, and then I'll bow out here, and I'll come back at the end of your song. You can do a couple if you'd like, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Hopefully this is still in tune. I had it tuned.
Okay, so it's gonna be original.
Yeah, this is an original. I'll do a song called "Been Planning Wishes," and this is a song that I was just sitting down. I don't remember. I think I was just playing around with a chord structure, like an F and a C7, and I was kind of thinking about when you plant something in the ground. And I live in an
Yeah.
agricultural area.
Okay.
You're planting a wish. You, you're really hoping that turns
Yeah.
into a
Yes.
flower, or
I
carrot,
like
or
that.
whatever.
Planning a wish. Oh, no, I'm going to steal that.
Well, please, if you want to make a variation on that, you're welcome
All
to.
right.
um, so that was kind of the first verse was, been planting wishes in the ground. And to me, it then kind of needed a story to go along with it, which is, this is really a love story. This is somebody who's wishing that they can impress or show their love interest, how good of a person they can be. So it'll go from planting wishes into the ground to tossing moonbeams at the sky, kind of taking on this is my superpower. I'm going to toss moonbeams at the sky, to sending tremors through the earth, to whispers in the wind, whatever I can do to get you to know that I'm here. And not in the best chair. It's got arms on it, but that's okay. Been planting wishes in the ground. Been planting wishes in the ground. Hoping they'll grow enough to show my love to you. Been tossing moonbeams at the sky. Been tossing moonbeams at the sky. Hoping they'll glow enough to show my love to you. Well, I've been doing everything that I can. I've been trying to be the best kind of man. Makes your world a better place. All the troubles you face never seem to get too out of hand. Been singing whispers to the wind. Been singing whispers to the wind. Hoping you'll hear that I so clearly love you, dear. Been planting wishes in the ground. Been planting wishes in the ground. Hoping they'll grow enough to show my love to you. Hoping they'll grow enough to show my love to you. So yeah, that's been playing Wishes.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I skipped a verse there because I have it on my iPad. One problem I have is memorizing my lyrics, even though I wrote them.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
So it's just, there's too much going into my brain. So the scrolling is a little off.
So do you have another one in there that I enjoyed that one? Definitely. And what are you playing? I can't see what you're
Well,
playing.
this is my baritone ukulele.
Yeah.
I'll switch to I have a tenor ukulele too.
Yeah. Okay.
Not to be confused.
Now that's a whole different story because you're playing different chords, right?
Well, yes, I have it tuned, so it's as if you capoed up three
Oh,
on
okay.
ukulele,
All right.
and I've tuned it down a whole step from what it would be because it just fit certain keys, and it saved me from using a capo all the time.
Okay.
And I kind of like it.
All right.
So let's see. There's another one. Yeah, this is called Like My Own, and it's got some of that same kind of style. This idea came to me because my mom would tell me, if you borrow something from somebody, you should treat it like it's your own. Be careful with it. If you borrow a friend's bike, treat it like it's your own. Take care of it. It soon became a different kind of song, but that was the impetus for the title. That was kind of like you had talked about the hook. Hey, won't you give me good news? I've been singing the blues today. I need to hear something good. Well, all right. Could you lend me some shoes? Mine are tattered and used, and my soles are no good. I promise you I'll treat them like my own. I need to walk 10 miles just to get home. Hey, won't you give me some gloves? My hands are stained from the blood, and the blues in their field. Well, all right, my head is missing a hat. It's more than just that. I think I missed a few meals. I promise you I'll treat them like my own. I need to walk 10 miles just to get home. Lord, I could sure use a ride. The beach trying to hide these bones in the dust of the road. Lord, maybe give me your car. I've been walking so far, I'm about to erode. I promise you I'll treat them like my own. I need to walk 10 miles just to get home. Hey, won't you give me good news? I've been singing the blues today. I need to hear something good. I need to hear something good.
Oh, bravo.
Thank
That's
you.
good. Say, no, this reminds me of something. I was listening to the words, and I had a hard time. I could write a poem, and one of my songs that was a poem, it started that way, and I was like, okay, how do I make it a song? I had no clue. So I'm going to ask you. You have received quite a few rewards for your writing. Is that correct?
I have, yeah. I
Yes.
won an award for my short story, and some for my journalism. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I also have done a lot of writing. I have a master's degree in poli-sci criminology, and it, I'm used to writing, intellectual stuff, and professional stuff, and it was very difficult for me to try to figure out how you do that. How do you change poetry to songwriting?
That is a really good question because it's something I've thought about.
Yeah.
Because poems and songs are not the same thing. They're related, uh,
Yes. Yes.
and epic poems used to be sort of sung. So
Yes.
that's been a long history. But especially if you think of like modern poetry, free verse that tends to be what came out of the 20th century. And I would write those kind of poems and then think, well, can this be a song? It's like, no, it doesn't have the song structure. You need the verse and the chorus structure. You don't always need a rhyme scheme, but you need it to kind of rhythmically rhyme at least, and occasionally rhyme
Right.
verbally. Uh, so yeah, it takes this sort of translation from poem, and it has to be something different. It can be a great poem,
Right.
and then you need to translate it to a song. And I've done that a couple times. Like I've just like you, I had this poem, and I thought, oh, this could be a song, and then it's like, ooh, I got to change some things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, does that happen? Like where you start to sing it, and it's different than if you recite it, um, like beat poet or something like that. And so yeah, I'm trying to think of.
So,
There are people that I
but
did that.
hold your thought there just a minute. So, what I think you're saying is the same thing that I found is that there's a structure, and
Yeah,
the structure is different when you try to sing what you've written and make it go from poetry to a musical thought or yeah. So that's
right. Yeah, it all goes together,
so
and
the first thing was the structure. And the second thing is
well, let's see. Yeah, so understanding the structure, the overall structure, and I think if you're doing songs that tell stories, especially,
yes, me.
yeah. So I mean, some poems can be just about a mood. They can be
Right.
about one idea. A haiku can be about an emotion or something like that. And I think it is important to have emotion in the songs. That's how people connect with them.
Right.
But the storytelling process, as you probably know, requires a little more narrative um, thought. And so that's where the chorus kind of as the hook becomes the sort of the message part of the story, and the verses become the examples. And you can have example one, example, second verse, another example, and then the story has to kind of go somewhere. It has to have a kind of narrative arc, and that's not always easy to do. I don't know how many times I've gotten through the first verse and like, I don't know where to go with this. I've said what I need to say. Um,
You ever found that as you do this, I tend to be wordy. I mean, I was working on my PhD, so piled higher and deeper kind of stuff, and so I
yeah,
had to learn to cut back, and that was the hardest part. And then I found out I had to change the cadence of a song because there's so many words in it, and
right.
I didn't really know how to do that. Thank God I had a good producer.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. You need you need to understand how syllables fall in a vocal way. So if you're speaking, vowels cannot really be elongated unless you're trying to
Yeah.
do theater or something like that. Whereas when you sing, you can hold that sound as long as you want because vowels let you do that. Consonants, you're done. The tongue hits the back of the teeth or the top of the mouth and you're done.
Right.
So it's like, where does that fall within this syllabic structure of the word? And then you put a couple words together, you string them together in a line. And so how does that flow with a rhythm that feels good, a good groove or something like that? It's hard.
The next part is cadence. I want to ask you about cadence because when you're writing, there's no cadence to writing unless you're writing a song, and that has a certain cadence to it. And as you're writing the words, oftentimes that's just part of it. I mean, you already know something's going on in the back of your head when you're putting it down. So do you do the music first, or do you do the words first, or is it a combination of both, or is it different every time?
Yeah, it's a little different each time, but sometimes I sit down without any particular plan, and so I might have actually do this when I watch Seahawk games. Because in a football game there's a lot of in between time. There's a huddle, there's a commercial, whatever like that, and I might be playing around with does that sound, well, I don't know, maybe okay. And if I'm doing that, I got a G and then like a G diminished. Where's that going to go? Okay, I got a little structure there. Yeah, that's kind of fun. So I might just start humming to it to get that kind of, like you said, that cadence.
Right.
If am I gonna strum it or am I gonna? So, in my finger picking is going to be more ballad like. So there'll be a time, and you probably experience this, where you're just messing around until something hits. And I might get that one line in. It's like, and sometimes I'll start with just kind of placeholder words that are pretty general. They're maybe cliches, and I know I want to work on it, but I just, it's like I love you kind of stuff, just to get it going, and it fits the meter. And if I get that first chord progression down, and then I'll try to challenge myself. Okay, make this better. Find the story here and see what you can do with it. And sometimes I'll just get that much and record it on my phone, and it might sit in my phone for months. Like, you mentioned sometimes it's here. And then I come back to it and think, well, okay, there was something here. I can do something with it. And by that time, maybe I've had an idea, something that I overheard.
Something you borrowed.
There's another song that I did. It's called Constellation Prize, like the stars instead of consolation prize, like being fourth place. I was watching a movie called Blaze, which is about the musician Blaze Foley. I think he was in Texas. He was a country musician back in the 70s, a friend of Townes Van Zandt in that crowd. And he recorded some songs. He had some fame, and then he died. I can't remember if he was murdered or something. So they made this movie about his life. And there's a moment where he's with his girlfriend at the time. She became his wife, and he was, I think a little self-conscious, but they're sort of ribbing each other about things. And he says, "So I'm your consolation prize. Is that it?" And I thought he said Constellation Prize, and I thought, no, that doesn't make sense. And then my second thought is, well, wait a second, I kind of like that idea because it combines this idea of, okay, I might not be your first choice, your second choice, your third choice, but maybe I'll be your fourth choice. I'll be hanging around like the stars up in the sky.
Right.
I'm not your sun, I'm not your moon, but I'll be those stars up there. And that kind of became the basis, the big idea that I wanted to build into the song. And then I kind of built it around that. And it took
There.
do that.
Amazing. I do want to thank you for playing, by the way, and listening. I got distracted because I got to thinking about what you were saying and how it, how that related to the fact that you're a writer and what a struggle I had trying to figure this whole thing out. And I'm still struggling. I hate to say it, but sometimes the words come easy, but then I don't really have anything musically going on. I mean, it's just for me. It's sometimes it's there, sometimes it just plain isn't.
Yeah, it's there days, weeks, months where it's like, the muse is not visiting.
Yeah.
And as much as you try to make it I'm going to go to work and I'm going to try writing today. Yeah, doesn't happen.
So the other question is, does your wife ever use any of your work? Does she use any of your tunes, or is it strictly your stuff?
It's my stuff because she's her own songwriter and she's a really good
Yes.
songwriter. And she kind of has her voice and I have mine. We've sung together on each other's songs some.
Yeah.
Well, she's sung on mine. I don't know that I've sung much on hers, but I've played
Right.
with her. Yeah, we've never really collaborated. It would be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. That
We
comes out of that.
Yeah, we might get it. I don't know.
I have another couple that does that. She's a country singer, and he's more rock. I don't know what it's called. Grieve the Astronaut. Astronaut is his band. His name is Raymond Hayden, and she's Jessica Lynn Whitty, and her tunes are all country. And so they collaborated on a song. Right now it escapes me what it's called, but something about surrender. It was just a beautiful song, and it totally out of either one of their main groove. It was rather interesting collaboration, and I would like to know what the two of you would make if you ever decided to sit down and write a song and do a two-part harmony.
Yeah, well, we should try it someday.
Oh, let me know if you do.
Yeah, we will.
I'll have you both on.
Right. Yeah. I've never really collaborated with anybody, at least lyrically. Yeah, with lyrics. But like one of my bandmates, Wayne, the bass player, who we would talk music every now and then. We'll talk jazz and stuff like that. And there have been a couple songs where he's kind of suggested some things and like a chord progression. We did a bossa nova song based on him kind of bringing it to the band and say, let's try this chord progression, and it was really cool. It was really fun.
Yeah. I did my first. Well, I asked somebody to help me write a song because I got roadblock. Mental block. I just cannot get past it. And he has a band called the Chris Jones Band, and he changed some of the words because I was just locked up, and I had part of the song down, and I didn't know quite how to phrase it because from my point of view it was one way, and he took fresh eyes and looked at it and changed a line or two or so and wrote the music to it, which I absolutely loved. And that was an interesting experience to have somebody else look at your words and then propose a rewrite or for another way of looking at it, which was really interesting. So I've enjoyed that. I haven't done it per se with anyone else other than Chad Christ, who's my guitar instructor and my producer. So and my sponsor, obviously. And if it wasn't for his talent, I don't know. Some of these things just don't come easy. Or the other thing I found out about songwriting is that too often they all sound the same. So you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
be
yeah.
really careful on that. As far as me, I'm talking about myself. I have to be very careful to make sure that what I come up with is different. I mean, that's kind of why I wrote this Warriors of the Cherokee. And the basic tenet of the song is it's about PTSD. It was two people got together, got married, and their love was very, very strong. But when they actually started living with each other, their love was torn apart simply because they were both suffering from PTSD, and they were soldiers, and they just cannot. They married, divorced, and then later on they married and divorced again.
Oh,
But they had two children, and so they poured their love for each other into their children, which was um, great for their children.
yeah.
That's so
That's
great for them.
a
But
really,
that's what it was. Pardon?
really an idea for a song.
Yeah. So I try to usually have a message. A song before that was called Lavender Fields, and that was about my son's suicide. And it was the progression. So I always tell a story in my songs from country, and it really was a powerful song depicting suicide in the military. And
Oh, wow.
the American indigenous people, American natives, indigenous Indians, sorry, American Indians, um, have a higher rate of suicide than any other group of people in the military.
Hmm.
So I spent a lot of time with the military, so a
Yeah,
lot of these stories come out that way. But yeah,
yeah. Well, and you've used, that understanding,
anyway,
that familiarity to, develop your music. Um,
right. Nobody reads the paper. Nobody reads the paper from one of your classes, right? Except your instructor and he
right.
grades it, or your committee, and they
Well,
tear it
you
apart.
think about in the Middle Ages, the troubadours that would go from town to town
Yes.
and sing, and I think to a degree they could sing songs that were kind of about the times of the day.
Yes. Right.
It's musicians have an opportunity to do that. In the '60s, they wrote protest songs.
Right. Yes. If I had a hammer,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
or if all the flowers gone, yeah, it was a great
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
So, where do you think you're going to be 5 years from now? Do you have any plans or thoughts about how you're going to develop this creativity that you've found in all these different areas?
Yeah. I hope to do some recording. I haven't done it. I've done home recording, just myself with my little keyboard connected to the
Right.
computer using GarageBand, and that's enjoyable. But I realize I need the pros to come in and professionals to come in and really do the right thing. So I'm taking turns. I'm waiting for my wife's band to do their first CD, which will be coming out a couple months probably. And then maybe in the next year or so, I can try to get together a group of songs and do some recording.
It's kind of expensive, but it's just undeniably enlightening experience.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
I had to do a lot of repeats when I was recording the song. I'd listen to it and then have to repeat it again, and eventually I got a little better. I suppose Chad wouldn't say so, but I think so. And it, it it's a whole different ballgame. And once you do it, the pride factor and the fact that it's once you get it mastered, it's ready for the radio, and you can put it out there. It's an interesting experience from start to finish. I hope you do it soon.
yeah, thank you. And I do hope to do that. So have you put yours on Spotify or what
By
platform?
going through CD Baby, which is distribution of your music, it's on like 132 different sites, and I put mine out. I've got a link to a radio station in France, and they puts it out there in Europe, and it's on Amazon and Spotify, and just all the American ones. And I also found an American Indian it's called 103 Spirit Radio, 103.1 Spirit Radio, and there used to be Cherokee Nation, I think it was called. It was Cherokee Channel of some sort, and so I was putting my stuff out there, and I've enjoyed that. I mean, I get a lot of hits and stuff, but not so much money, and yeah, I just keep finding new places.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, the money, it's if you think too
Yeah,
hard about the
yeah,
money, it'll
right,
carry you. The way the music business is these days, you can get a few pennies here and there, maybe,
right.
but that's not what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a band from 2000 2015. They are paying less, as much or less than what they were paying back in 2015.
Wow.
And I go to a lot of jams because I don't want to work for that. They're still hearing my music. It's still going out on all the broadcast areas, and maybe there's not a lot of income, but by gosh, after all this, I'm not going to work for what I made in 2000, and not much has changed since then.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I do do something and gig out in the public, um, if they don't pay what I think they should be getting, I supplement my people to what I think they should be earning, and that comes out of my pocket. And so I don't do a whole lot of those, but I do them. And the reason being is these people have earned that. They've bought their equipment, they put in the time, they've done their practice, they're really good at what they do, and they don't deserve to just get that particular amount of money. So I supplement, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. And I don't like to just play for free unless it's a,
Right.
friends or charitable situation, something like that. And especially because you don't want to set a precedent. And if, like you said, if you have band members that, it's one thing for me to get my songs out there, but I have band members who are putting in the rehearsal time and the driving time
Right.
and all that stuff.
Learning the music, you got it.
Yeah.
It's just not fair, but I understand to some degree why. I mean, there are a lot of reasons that people aren't spending their money on alcohol.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And it hasn't been easy for a lot of these venues to survive,
Right.
especially coming out of the pandemic.
Absolutely. And another thing too, I think, is the fact that they were hurt.
Mhm.
That was an industry that wasn't doing that well to begin with, or they were teetering. And the minute you put a cover charge on anything, I found that over and over again, it stops and that they go under. And if they get too big a band, too big of a venue, and they don't get the income or return on it, they end up gone. So it's a
Yeah.
tough business. Tough
It
business.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
But don't stop.
No, no. Yeah, this is the creative outlet, as you know. It's a thing that keeps you going.
That's right. You got it. It's healing too.
Exactly.
But we have about 2 minutes left. Can you believe that it's gone that fast? I always like to invite you guys back again after 6 months from now or so to see where you're at and if anything has changed, and share your gigs. I do have a Facebook page called Mature Musicians, which I know you remember. And if you have gigs or any information for us, do any releases, whatever, do put it on Matured Musicians. We'd love to see it. Love to have you there.
Well, thank you, and I will definitely do that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate what you do for the musical community.
Thank you. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing it. I'm starting to lose people because StreamYard, which is such an easy thing to use, a platform to use, changed so that we can't directly stream to Matured Musicians, which is a Facebook group. So I have to go through my business page and then hit share once I'm in there to have it cast. And I'm losing people left and right. So if by August, if things don't improve, I may not be here, but I'm going to do it for as long as I can.
Well, I hope you can get that resolved. because this has been a wonderful experience for me. And when I talked to my wife after she spoke with you, she had a great time, and so
Good.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you much. Thank you much. And I'm going to be anxious to hear your music. I'd love to see you both live. Right now, I have not had the time. I've been trying to record, and I go out and gig 2-3 times, sometimes 4 times a week, and I try to catch people, but I only have so much energy and time.
Well, I know it's hard to. Yeah, I have a lot of musician friends, but then if you're playing, then it's hard to catch them at the same
That's
time.
right. Absolutely. So thank you again, Todd, and we do keep us informed, and hopefully we'll see both you and your wife back. Hopefully you'll have a collaboration share. And if not, doesn't matter. Bring your friends, bring your band. We'll get them on too.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Joy. Appreciate it.
All right. You have a good rest of your day, and thank you for being on our show.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, that's it for me. Next week I have somebody at 2:00. I will be advertising that shortly, so stay tuned. I thank you all for being with us today. I'll see you down the road. You have a good rest of your week. Take care.